I am just here looking at a chart. The top 1% income share and the top marginal tax rate in Canada for 90 years from 1920 to 2010. You can see a couple of lines there. One is the top marginal tax rate. Now it's interesting to look back in the period during the 1920s when the tax rate was reduced from 72% to 40%. And it's funny that just after that, well, let me say first, during that time, the top 1% income share was up around 18% of the total income of all Canadians. But that was just before 1930, 1929, when the Great Depression started. Then we go through the period during World War II and into the 1950s, when the marginal tax rate on the top earners in Canada, the top tax rate of the biggest earners, was running up 80 to 90%. Then, after World War II and in the 50s, that dropped down generously, and the tax rate on the highest margin was only 82%. That continued until a Mr. P.E. Trudeau became Prime Minister. And at that point, the marginal tax rate dropped down to 60%. Then during his time, it dropped down to 50%. And during that time, before he dropped that, we were doing very well. Canada was growing. People were working. The top 1%, they were down around 8 to 10% of the total earnings in Canada. Then after Mr. Trudeau, Mr. Mulroney came in, and the tax rate was lowered a little more. And then it stayed low through Mr. Mulroney and Chrétien, and it was down in the, say, 47% tax rate up until 2010. During that time, the share of total income in Canada for the 1% increased back up again from 12 to 14%. So what seems to be the problem here? Are we getting ready for another deep depression? That seems to be what happened when the 1% were grabbing the biggest share of Canada's income, and the tax rate for their high margin was extremely low. So whatever we think of our prime ministers since 1970, all of them seem to have been purposely driving us to the next Great Depression. Thank you.